Let's imagine that you are considering joining the Searchlight community as an innovator in residence, or an IIR. And you might be wondering what it's like to work as an innovator in residence on market discovery challenges. And so I would describe uh, that experience in two ways. One around the concept of wisdom of crowds, and the other around connected learning. And participating with a Searchlight and a market discovery challenge with colleagues and collaborators is a little bit like Wisdom of Crowds meets connected learning. Wisdom of Crowds is a book made famous, or concept made famous, by an author named James Surowiecki. And the idea is that the aggregation of information in groups results in decisions that are often better than could have been made by any single person of that group. Whereas the idea of connected learning, which is a very growing trend in society, is that the type of learning, it's the type of learning that integrates personal interests, peer relationships, and achievement in academic, civic, or career-related areas. And it's often enabled by an abundance of information and social connection that's often brought about by networked or digital media. So every market discovery challenge with a Searchlight starts with a description of the client's situation and intent. And the objective of a situation and intent is to provide the innovator in residence with the background and perspective which will help them make relevant discoveries and find useful insights during their research and their collaboration. The example here is a recent market discovery challenge performed by the Searchlight and innovators in residence around a new startup company called Optimal Process Technologies, which is in the automotive industry. And they had a new dissimilar material joining technology, which is very popular for the trend around automotive lightweighting, of connecting dissimilar materials. And so typically there's just a couple paragraphs that will describe to everyone, what is the situation of the client, and what is their intent to do. And often the other thing is there are key questions that the client needs answered. And we want to be very clear about those so that we can put those challenges out, those questions as challenges out to our team. So in this case, there were questions around current incumbent technologies, which could be displaced by optimal process technologies. There were questions around pain points associated with current technologies used in the automotive factory automation industry. There were questions about the global automotive segment and what is the potential market size for the new OPT technology, and also questions about who the key players were in the ecosystem and who should OPT consider partnering with. So let's say that it's time to go discover some new insights as an innovator in residence, now that we know the situation, we know the intent, and we know what the key questions are that the client needs answered. And so often a project will start with a basic keyword search, and the team will collaborate on search terms that are proving fruitful. And let's say you're an innovator in residence and you've made a good discovery. You found an article which seems to be very relevant, and it has some insights that should be shared with the group. But the question is, how are you going to report the key finding that you've made? And so when you join the Searchlight's Innovator in Residency program, you'll be invited to a tool called Socialcast, which is an organizational networking site. And what it does is it allows multiple team members to collaborate together on initiatives. So the Searchlight uses Socialcast groups as the activity hub for a market discovery challenge. When you join the Innovator in Residence program, and one of the things you'll do is you will be sent an invitation, and of course you'll open that, and you'll want to spend a little time probably just updating your profile, getting a little bit familiar with the functionality. But basically at this point it's probably your first project, and you've just been invited to join the community in general. And so now what may happen is you want to get a little bit familiar with the user interface. There are various streams, there are groups that you can investigate, some of which you probably belong in. There's private messages you can use to communicate directly with other people in your group or other groups that you're getting to know through your experience. And then there is various search tools which will help you explore information that's been stored in a project, and so you'll want to just get familiar with those features, generally speaking, and then update your profile and so forth. So again, you'll receive the invitation, and now you're ready to post your insight. But the question might be where to post it and how to post it. And so you'll want to spend a little bit of time familiarizing yourself with the group panel, the group dashboard or user interface. And so there are some pretty basic and intuitive features here, like activity, where it just displays the complete group discussion in chronological order. There is files, and so files is a nice place to go where you can see all the attachments or file uploads that you and other IARs have included as part of insightful posts. Sometimes it's just good to look at all the file attachments. Update is a good place to post a comment to the group which does not fall cleanly into what we call a key question thread. So this may be more of a general update coming from the catalyst, who's the project leader, or maybe it's from the client directly. Whereas questions are probably one of the most important things in a market discovery challenge. Question threads are key questions posted by the group catalyst or the leader to the innovators and residents based on the situation and intent and the key questions that the client would like to have insight on. Ideas is also a tool to use. It's a place to post anything to the group or community members, even outside of your group. Maybe it's something you would like some feedback on. It could be a point of view you have on a general subject matter. Perhaps it's just an idea you have about our processes in a way to make market discovery challenges work better. So idea is just kind of a general tool. And the other thing you want to become familiar with is known as group helpful links over on the right hand side of the group homepage. And there's two couple important project related documents are things that the Catalyst has posted for the benefit of the IIRs to have reference documents if they need them to go back and understand situation, intent, or key questions. And then also recordings is another place. Project-related recordings can be recordings of weekly Google Hangouts where the team has gotten together, or perhaps it is recordings of interviews with industry experts. And the reason we use tools like this with the Searchlight is our goal is to be very a light footprint on an innovator's time. It's an asynchronous type of experience, and so we only ask for a limited amount of hours from people each week, and we want to make sure that you have the information you need to come back and reference it when convenient for you. Do that, and now it is time to post some information, and we have a post here as an example, and it's important that for the Searchlight's process to work well is that posts be insights that have been posted or discoveries get posted in somewhat of a structure so that it is easy to pull the synthesis out each week and share them with the client. And so the question becomes, what makes a good post? And there are 4 pieces that we have found over time, or 4 aspects of a post, which tends to make for a good post. So regarding placement, the first thing to think about is that when you're posting a key insight or discovery into a group discussion, that you just take a minute to scan the existing open question threads and make sure that you're putting your insight into the most appropriate or relevant question thread where it can help with the synthesis and the understanding of that question. The next thing is called insight. And so insight just means getting in the practice or learning how to summarize that post well. It doesn't have to be as long as the example here, but here what you're doing is you're giving a few sentences that are from your perspective of why you think this article is relevant to the question at hand. We also use a concept called hashtags, and on each project the Catalyst may introduce some hashtags that they would like you to use whenever appropriate. The next piece of a good post is the excerpt. That's the E, and the excerpt is what struck you when you first read the article as the most relevant excerpt. This is often a couple of sentences or a paragraph or whatever first caught your attention when you were doing your basic discovery. And then lastly is the link at the bottom here. And the link is always important because it gives the Searchlight team or the client the opportunity to trace back to to the original evidence and source documents which provoked the insight in the excerpt by the innovator in residence. So this is just an example of a good post. And again, as a reminder, the pieces of a good post are the placement, the insight, the excerpt, and the link. So that's it. That's what makes a good post. And obviously, if we have enough good posts on every project, we generally are doing a good job of answering the key questions and making for a happy client.